This is the Almost Timely newsletter for the week of October 9th, 2022. On my mind this week, why I don't like networking and what I did to fix it. Let's spend a few minutes this week talking about what used to be one of my least favorite parts of conferences and events, networking. Now, when I say that term, what springs to mind? Perhaps images of mandatory fun come to mind, activities that force you to be in close proximity with others that you're not particularly interested in. Or maybe it's a feeling, right? One of mild claustrophobia in the old days and just outright germophobia nowadays. People who are much too close to you, of varying degrees of hygiene, breathing all over you. Yeah. As an aside, by the way, I can't begin to tell you how delighted I am that it is socially acceptable to wear a mask like this, right? To wear a tactical respirator to parties now. The best part is, like, you don't even have to pretend to smile anymore. You just put your mask on. Maybe it's a person or an archetype, right? There's always that guy, and statistically, it's most of the time it is a guy who fancies himself the conference ninja, right? He's flinging his business cards at any stationary target, like throwing stars, and he's always, looking over his shoulder or your shoulder to find someone else more important to talk to. There's also the miserable sales exec, the one who has to come back to the office with a certain number of contacts. You have to come back with 50 leads from this show, setting up meeting after meeting, even if they'd rather be having a whiskey at the bar. Boy, that sure makes networking sound appealing, doesn't it? And why is that? It's because the way we've come to know networking, the way we do networking, is corrupt. Not in a criminal sense, but in a purpose sense or an intent sense. When we talk about networking, we're framing it entirely in the mindset of meeting people so that we can take advantage of them. Right? If we're really honest, we're meeting people so that we can take something from them, usually their money, or their signing authority, or their business card, or their contact information, so that we can try and sell them stuff. Even the way we start networking conversations, so tell me about what you do, right, has an unmistakable odor of what can you do for me implicit in it. It feels kind of gross, doesn't it? You can feel like a second-rate pickup artist at a bar trying to woo someone just long enough to go home with them that night. Not a role that many of us are eager to play, particularly, as you're a little bit older. Those days are long gone. And that intent, that creepy intent, seeps into our conversations, into what we talk about, into how we speak, how we look at another person, how we think about them. When you're talking with someone else who's super gung-ho about networking, you feel like a piece of meat. You feel like a walking wallet. They're really interested in what you can do for them. So, what's the cure for this ailment now that we feel like completely gross, right? It's not zanier activities, or funny icebreakers or better food, though better food is always welcome at conferences. Hotel chicken only goes so far. It's reframing what we do, what our intent is. Think about this. When you go out with your friends, your real friends, right? When you hang out with your friends, do you ask yourself mentally, what can my friends do for me tonight? I sure hope not. Ideally, you ask yourself, hey, what can we all do together? Right? When you talk to your friends, are you contemplating all the different ways they can help you? Or do you have a healthy give and take? Helping each other in turn, supporting each other. When you think about your friends, do you think about only how they benefit you, or do you think about how you benefit each other? Mentally, I rebranded networking in my head as building professional friendships. That's what I'm after. And in some cases, those professional friendships become real personal friendships, friendships outside of work. And to be clear, they don't have to be. If you want to keep work and personal separate, by all means do so. Honor those boundaries. You can still be friends with people in a work sense and not, cross over into a personal sense. But sometimes your professional friendships become so profound that they really do become personal friendships. And that's a nice side benefit. Reframing the conversation of networking changed everything for me. There have been, in the distant past, people I've worked with or had as clients who were valuable clients for the companies I was working with at the time. They were not exactly people I'd want to be friends with, right? They're not people I'd want to go out to a meal with or a drink with, not willingly. And no amount of revenue is worth more toxic people in your life. And when we think of meeting people, we think of people we meet as potential friendships. We value those people for who they are, right? In your personal life, you value your friends for who they are and not what they can do for you, right? If we are truly friends, there may come a time when we can provide each other value professionally, but that's not an expectation or a precondition of the friendship. We don't do that in our personal life. So why would we do that in our professional lives if we're going to build professional friendships? Now, this makes companies unhappy. This makes CMOs and VPs of sales really unhappy because you won't be extracting revenue from your contacts in the short term, right? You won't be pumping up those numbers in time for the quarterly board review or the earnings call, but it creates value over the long term. If you're patient, if you're unselfish. I met one friend way back in 2007, and we've been friends for years now. They briefly became a customer of Trust Insights in 2019, and then they weren't, and that's fine, and they're still a friend today. Now imagine trying to fit that in an attribution model, but that's what professional friendships and friendships in general can be. I had a call with a friend yesterday that was started off as a very somber call. They said they were departing their current role, their current position, and the tone and the way they spoke, it's like a funeral, right? Seemed to indicate they were just afraid our friendship would come to an end now that they were leaving their role, as though I only valued them for what they could do for me. And I strongly contradicted them. I'm like, you're a friend, period. I want to hear about the new house. I want to hear about the pets and the farm animals that you're planning on getting, the projects that you're working on. And yes, you're going to a company that may or may not ever do business with us. I don't care. Right? This person's an actual friend. And it was saddening. It was really saddening to hear that in the way they were talking and say, yeah, so I'm leaving. It's been wonderful getting to know you. I'm like, dude, I'm just going to keep pestering you on Instagram. Right? So is there a loss for me professionally because they're no longer in this particular role where we interacted for a while? A little bit, but not much, really. Honestly, not much. It would be a much greater loss if I lost our friendship as people. Here's the thing about friendships. People move around. Today, somebody might not be important to you if all you're after is money. Right? But if you put money aside, that person might be a good friend, right? In a year, 5 years, 10 years, who knows what the future holds besides climate change. But you might be in a position to help each other. And that makes your professional friendships valuable to you as a person. Your professional friendships move with you. Right? If you only value somebody for the role that they're in right now, when they leave that role, you're screwed, right? But if you value people for who they are, for the enrichment that they bring to your life and you to their lives, and you maintain real friendships with them, professional or personal, then as time goes on, your personal network, your personal friendships, your relationships with people get stronger and stronger. And it doesn't stay the property of the company that you're working with. That goes with you. That's part of who you are, right? That is part of the value you can bring to a company. As your career matures, you have a bigger and stronger and more vibrant professional friendships with all these people that, as long as it's balanced, from time to time you can call on your friends. You can ask for a little help from your friends, right? As the song goes. When you hear about people talking about being more human in marketing, this is what it means. This is what we're talking about. It's not finding more clever ways to write copy or do marketing stunts and surprise and delights or whatever. Those are just gimmicks. Being more human means treating the people that you meet and the people you build relationships with as real humans, not walking contracts or wallets. If you do that, if you build real professional friendships, you will be amazed at what you can accomplish together with a little help from your friends. What else is happening this week? In case you missed it, besides the GA4 course that I'm relentlessly flogging, and by the way, I've gotten some really great feedback from you about the course. People have been saying it's way better than what you'll find on YouTube, which thank goodness. So please go check it out, particularly if you're feeling a little, panicked about Google Analytics 4. It is a really comprehensive course. But the piece of content I want to highlight this week, I just did an interview with attorney Ruth Carter about copyright law and how it applies to AI-generated content. We spoke for about 45 minutes. I was surprised. I learned a whole bunch of things. I was honestly a little bit shocked at what I learned. And I think you'll be surprised too. So go check that out. It's the first link in the In Case You Missed It section. Also, did a bake-off this week about the new Apple AirPods. Some ranting about quiet quitting, what does intermediate mean, and a bunch of other stuff. So lots of fun things to check out this week. Let's see what we got for open jobs this week. We have Associate Director of Product and Tag Management at Novartis, Director of Lead Generation at Cybernetic Search, Director of Digital Analytics at BJ's Wholesale Club, Director of Media Strategy at Rocket Careers, Manager of Data Strategy at Marriott, Senior Copywriter at Amerisource Bergen, Senior Director of Research at Purpose, Senior Manager of Conversion Rate Optimization at Morgan & Morgan, Senior Manager of Data Strategy at Marriott, SEO Marketing Manager at Rocket Careers, and Staff Data Engineer at Flip. So lots and lots of job openings all over the place. Last week we talked about the great marketing reboot. We are still seeing this, so lots and lots to check out. In promotional stuff, of course, the private social media study, members only. If you haven't checked it out, go get your copy of it for free. There's a link in there. Other things in the news this week, an interesting piece on how to transfer LinkedIn ads data into Google BigQuery, which looks to be very helpful. B2B storytelling for SaaS companies, the importance of backlinks, the AI skills crisis and the White House Bill of Rights for AI. I'm actually going to do a video about that next week because I have plenty of thoughts about it. We also have Google Analytics Reporting API version 4 in R, which is always a good thing. The new Google tag, which I'm probably going to rant about that later this week too, because I have a lot of thoughts about that. And then dealer's choice, we have some random stuff. People discovering that they're from their at-home DNA test that they're a different race than they thought they were, which is always funny. I did one of those, and it said, I'm Korean. I'm like, oh, I didn't need to spend $90 to figure that one out. A professor at NYU who was fired for an organic chemistry class that was too hard, which I ranted about that on LinkedIn. I failed organic chemistry too, and it was probably a good thing. You don't want me as your doctor. And some bleak economic news about Russia because of the catastrophic consequences of the military mobilization. I put some stuff up on Instagram and TikTok about that this week. The short version is they're just making all the wrong moves. What they really need to do is go home, call this whole thing off, and maybe spend some time reflecting on what they really need to do to advance as a nation. But that's a whole other newsletter. Upcoming events this coming week is Marketing Profs B2B Forum here in Boston. I'm getting in Tuesday night, teaching a workshop all Wednesday, doing a private social media session on Thursday, and a leadership and marketing session on a Friday. So if you're going to be at the event, please come up and say hi. Just look for, I look like this or something like this, right? Looking forward to that. And then HeapCon in Belgrade in Serbia in November, which I'm excited to be going there. Never been there before. It should be very interesting. That's the news for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening and watching and reading. I appreciate you in this ever-increasing glut of content that is available to us. I appreciate that you took the time out to go through this with me. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week. Stay safe. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.